issues that Botswana have that affect cultural and social conflicts, economic violence. Who are the most vulnerable groups?
Very patriarchal society dominate women.
Gender-based violence does not only happen to women. Ignorance gives rise to gender-based violence.
Most of the time people don't really know the law. Who are the most vulnerable groups?
The Botswana National Strategic Framework, the second one, the 2010 to 2017, has clearly stipulated that gender-based violence is one of the key drivers of HIV in this country. And what it simply means is that we find that gender-based violence cases puts people at a disadvantage or vulnerable to HIV infection.
Again, at a point where maybe there is infections, STIs, a condom would be a best option to ensure that the other partner is getting treatment and not infecting the other one. Okay.
We find that gender-based violence cases puts people at a disadvantage or vulnerable to HIV infection.
The concept of sex should be something that is enjoyed by both partners. Okay. It's something that I need to be willing and she needs to be willing.
You know, the assumption is that when you are married, okay, sexual relations, sexual activity is consensual, okay? It's automatic, yeah? You are married, so obviously, you know, there are no questions. You already committed yourself to a relationship.
Marital rape goes hand in hand with domestic violence or gender-based violence. Because if I, as the husband, am abusing my wife, okay, be it physically, be it emotionally, be it financially, and in her point of sadness or pain or frustration, I demand sex, she may not be in any condition to engage with me sexually, emotionally and physically.
Now, if you are forced to have sexual relationships or a sexual act within marriage, that's marital rape. Because people feel that there's nothing like that within marriage, okay? But it's again an attitude, it's a value system that needs to be changed.
We associate sex with power, you see. So in that case, you find then the extremes whereby people cross certain lines. Well, that's when it leads to rape.
Sometimes perpetrators would not want to use a condom because a condom is a form of restraint. Okay, so if I want to exercise maximum power over somebody or maximum dominion over somebody, I wouldn't want to use this form of restraint called a condom. Okay.
Because it means that if you are beaten, your level of negotiating safer sex becomes minimal and chances of you being infected are high. So people literally rely on these abusive partners to just stay in there because, you know, there are very few opportunities out there for one to earn their own livelihood. It could also be issues of religion and culture where you know, people have been taught that in relationships you have to sacrifice, you have to withstand anything that comes your way because it's in sickness and in health.
A lot of gender-based violence that is actually happening due to the fact that economic dependence by young women on men is very high. But even of late, we're hearing of the reverse, whereby now it's young men being dependent upon women.
So in getting on these relationships, those are the things that you think about secondary, because once you flash me with 1,000 pula, I can't reject and think about you know, the other consequences. So older partners now are much more risky than the younger partners, and in the sense that, you know, they have actually had a longer sexual history.
These relationships also have made the HIV response in Botswana to be very difficult, in the sense that we find Botswana to be experiencing a lot of setbacks in terms of behavior change.
There's a close relationship between HIV and GBV. And I'm saying if you address them together, you will win a war. on both sides and on both levels where we can prevent some of these things to happen.